Hello, everyone, and welcome to what is hopefully a first video in a series of teacher reflections here on TESL Ontario's YouTube channel. In today's video, we are looking back at the year so far and planning our next moves going ahead. Now, of course, the year 2020 needs no introduction. In the world of ESL education, our institutions were closed without much notice and put under pressure to go live as soon as possible. However, with all aspects of life, hindsight is 2020. While there may have been a better or more successful way to adapt, recognizing our trials and tribulations is step one in planning our next moves going forward. My name is Celine, and I will be your moderator this video. Joining me today are educators from different sectors. We have Anita, representing LINC, Heejin, who works in EIP and CLIL, as well as Lindsay, who works in a private language school. So our first set of questions, Lindsay, maybe we can start with you. How much online teaching experience did you have prior to the COVID-19 school closure?
I actually didn't have that much. When I first moved to Toronto and I was doing my TESL, I was working online a little bit with some private teaching in Korea through Skype. And also I was doing a class in China for little kids through their own program. So I did have some online teaching experience, but not with any of the tools we have now. And for the most part, when I was doing the private lessons with the Korean students, it was all conversation. So there was no need for books or any of that kind of stuff. So it was simply more like phone teaching, actually.
Okay, great. Heejin?
Same here. Really, prior to COVID-19, really, I didn't have much experience delivering, teaching itself all online. Although I would say in my teaching, I always had a learning management system such as Moodle, Crocus, but that was just for online discussion. The teaching itself were all delivered in a face-to-face format.
Thank you. And Anita?
I had absolutely no experience with online teaching. However, in my standard classrooms, I always did use material taken from websites like YouTube, the news. So I did use the resources that I reached out to were online, but I didn't teach online really. It was in the classroom, but the resources were from the internet. So.
Thank you. So we have a nice range of experience with familiarity. So I'll open the floor to the next question. How did you adapt your existing course materials to suit lesson plans in an online classroom? Of course, as teachers, we all have our go-to material that we tend to reuse over and over again. So how did you make that adaptation?
That was something I had a little bit of challenge with. I work at an ESL school that is no technology. So we went from zero technology to almost exclusively technology.
Yeah.
It was a big change, but it brought back some of the things that I had done at other schools before I'd worked there. And so I got to reuse material that I hadn't been able to use for a long time. And with the breaks and interactions, the breaks are the same for me.
Yeah.
And the interaction is nice because I find that the breakout rooms allow for more concentrated one-on-one time with the students that you wouldn't necessarily get in a classroom, and they feel comfortable telling you stuff that they might not have before.
So did you use this feature to have one-to-ones with students or in smaller groups? Or
Both work exceptionally well. Everything that could be done in small groups or partners or things like that, or one-on-one, if you're in a classroom setting, you might be helping a student when another student's asking you a different question. So it helped that material, and I find it kept students more focused and able to ask questions because they weren't surrounded by their peers, which maybe they think would judge them when they wouldn't.
That's great. Thank you, Lindsay.
In my case, in our university, we had a Moodle. That's a learning management system we've been using. And I actually had a Moodle as a course site, to organize materials, students to submit their assignments. So I had that platform. But then after COVID-19, I had to use that platform very actively and fully. So I reorganized stuff there. I posted lesson activities there in advance, so my students see, lesson topics, activities, materials, so they come to Zoom class. So I use the Zoom class, Zoom class, prepared. So in Zoom class, I used breakout room function. So my students had a small group discussion opportunities. And in the beginning, I had a rocky moment. Myself, I didn't know how to use all those functions embedded in Zoom and all, wonderful tools and Moodle. So I would say, in the beginning, first a few weeks, learning curve and students I had to say this, we are all together in this. I'm also learning, new skills. Do please understand if I make some mistakes here and navigating some tools. My students were okay. We finished the course together nicely, smoothly.
That's great. Did you find that because you had to upload your materials ahead of time before the class that you were more organized?
Yes, definitely. I felt like I was anxious and nervous. If my students don't see the materials in advance, they will be also anxious, right? So I felt, that I have to do that.
Yeah, I had a similar experience. We didn't use a Moodle per se. I used another platform more similar to Google Drive. It's called Bubblup. But it's great because you can upload video links and files and everything. But I found that I was much more organized in this experience, in the transition, because you don't really have time to run to a photocopier and just quickly copy something. But that's great. Thank you.
Exactly. Yes.
Anita?
Sure. We were lucky that we were given some training on creating lesson plans, and we were also lucky to have websites like ESL Library, which has fantastic lesson plans that we could share. We could share them with the students, and they have a lot of online exercises that the students can do. There's also the best practices from TESL Ontario. We use that. There's Tutela. So we were lucky that we did have a lot of websites that we could use and share with the students. And if we wanted to go beyond that, because you couldn't reach for a textbook, right, and do group work, what I often did was I just reached out. I found I was reaching out more for authentic material and getting more authentic material, because the only kind of material I could get to supplement the existing lesson plans from the websites that I mentioned with just real life resources, the news, certain websites from YouTube, and I discovered a lot of interesting real life English websites such as Easy Languages. I don't know if you're familiar with Easy Languages. And they're made specifically for ESL students. So I did a lot of that. So I was reaching out to a lot of real life material and exposing it to the students, sending them links. So instead of photocopying from books or making my own lesson plans on paper, it was just sending links, and we worked with that. It was really motivating because they found it was real life English. So I found that fascinating.
That's great. So how did your learners respond?
Oh, they loved it. Yeah, it's very very interesting for them. They realized that they were learning real English. At first, they were intimidated because the language is so fast, and they were worried about that. But then, I guided them into it and helped them out, and they love it. They love it now.
That's great. Great to hear. Stay tuned to part 2 of our discussion, where we talk about what we enjoyed most about online teaching, the greatest success stories from our classrooms, and the things that we probably wouldn't try again.